Okay, so for the power factor improvement, what we can make use of a capacitor. Now, a capacitor, as we all know, see, one is a capacitor and say another one is the inductor. Okay, now this is the voltage across the inductor. This is, say, the current that is flowing through the inductor. Say, this is the voltage across the capacitor, and this is the current that is flowing through the capacitor. Okay, so before learning any other things, let us talk about the inductor. In the case of inductor, you very well know that the current lags behind the voltage by an angle of 90 degrees. And in the case of a capacitor, the voltage which is drawn as the reference, so the current actually leads the voltage by an angle of 90 degrees. And this is the thing that we are going to take advantage of while cancelling the effect of the lagging current behind the voltage. But it's fine that you can draw things using a particular, like a phasor diagram, but let us also analyze the waveforms for the inductor as well as the capacitor. See, this is going to be the waveform for the inductor, and just below that I am going to draw the waveform for the capacitor. So this is the waveform for the inductor. So this is going to be the inductor and this is going to be the capacitor. So the positive half cycle, this is the negative half cycle, this is again positive half cycle, and this is negative half cycle. For the capacitor also, the voltage, like the value or the magnitude, we will let it be the same. So this is the voltage waveform. But in the case of an inductor, you very well know that the current lags the voltage by an angle of, say, 90 degrees. So what does it mean? It does mean that, say, your inductor is attaining the maximum value of the waveform at, say, 90 degrees. So the current would obtain its maximum value after further 90 degrees. So 90 degrees advancing further, say at 180 degrees, the current waveform is going to obtain its maximum value. So this is how you are going to draw this particular waveform. So it is over here. But in the case of a capacitor, if your voltage is obtaining its maximum value at 90 degrees, so definitely the current attains its maximum values 90 degrees before the voltage attains its maximum value with respect to the time. So what you can say that this is the current waveform. Alright, now this is also fine. This is basically the voltage waveform. Alright, this is again like the green one I'm drawing. This is all the voltage, and this one which I'm drawing over here, this is the current waveform. Okay, now comes the power. Now for 0 to 90 degrees, voltage is positive, current is negative. What is the product of positive and negative? Negative. So this is going to be the power waveform. For the next 90 degrees, both the voltage as well as the current, they are of positive nature. So plus into plus is always plus. Next half cycle, current is positive, voltage is negative. So product of plus and minus is minus. Another 90 degrees, current is negative, voltage is also negative. So minus into minus will give you plus. Plus into minus would give you minus. Plus into plus would give you plus. Plus minus is again minus, and it continues. So this pink over here is the waveform for the power. Now let me tell you that when there is a waveform indicating the power, then the positive half cycle, let me tell you, the positive half cycle indicates positive half cycle of a power waveform. It indicates that the power is moving from source to load. And a negative half cycle of the power waveform indicates, say if it is the power waveform is positive, and the negative waveform of the power, it indicates that the power is moving in the opposite direction. That is, it is moving from the load to the source. Plus into plus is plus, plus minus minus, minus minus plus, plus minus minus, plus plus plus, plus minus minus, and so on. Now what does this indicate? Whenever the power, during the times from 90 degrees to 180 degrees, as you can see over here, the power flows from source to load of the inductor. What is happening is that it is only half the power, only half of the time. From an entire cycle of 0 to 180 degrees, only half of the time the inductor is requiring the reactive power. Rest of the time, that is from negative half cycle, since it is an inductor, so it stores energy in the form of a magnetic field. So it also supplies back some energy from the load to the source. That is during the negative half cycle. But we have to administer to this half cycle in which your inductor requires reactive power. So when your inductor requires reactive power at that 90 to 180 degrees, like a time period, during that time period your capacitor is doing what? Capacitor is having a negative half cycle of the power. A negative half cycle of the power means that some power or some reactive power is supplied from the load back to the source, from the load back to the source. So this is the thing you can take advantage of, and that is over here, as you can see. Say for example, I have got a circuit in which, say, this is the source, this is an AC source, okay, and here is your load, okay, which is an RL load. Generally the load is an inductive load, so this is your load, okay. So what is happening over here, that is, if you apply or if you connect a capacitor in parallel with your load 90 to 180 degrees, in the case of the inductor, what is happening, the reactive power, that is, okay, that is flowing from source to the load. Alright, but if you talk about a capacitor, so in the case of capacitor, now see again for the diagram, the waveform for the capacitor, what is there? This is 90 to 180 degrees. During this, we have the negative half cycle of power in the capacitor. So what does this mean? This means that in the case of a capacitor, the reactive power is opposite from the load to the source. Understood? And this is the time when the load, which is the capacitor, it can supply reactive power to the source and the source wants to supply this reactive power to the load. So as you can see here, a cycle starts. How does the cycle start? From the capacitor, that is source. Okay, from the source, reactive power is required by the inductive load. Okay, this is required by the inductive load. Understood? This time there is one capacitor which comes into play if you install it in parallel across the load, across the same voltage source. So here the capacitor comes into play. Now what the capacitor wants to do is, it can from 90 to 180 degrees, being the power cycle being in the negative half cycle, the source is obtaining reactive power from the capacitor, and this like a capacitor which is installed in parallel, what is it doing? It is supplying reactive power, that is Q, that is known as the reactive power, to the source, and this source is supplying the required reactive power to set up a magnetic field. So now this is the reference voltage, that is V. Now since this is taken as the reference, so anything that would be lagging would be taken as in the clockwise direction. So this load current IL will lag behind the voltage by a particular angle. So somewhere over here, say we have this IL. Okay, so this is the phase angle, that is phi L. The current flowing through the capacitor is going to lead the voltage by an angle of 90 degrees. So it will be to draw the current flowing through the capacitor, that is IC. Alright. So now is the time to find out what is the resultant of IC and IL. So parallelogram, if I can apply, draw a line parallel to IL, draw a line parallel to IC where they intersect. You can actually find out, you can actually say this is the total current, that is I. Okay, so now this is their resultant current, that is how much I. So this very well shows that this current I is the resultant current. So what we can see over here, that is the power factor angle which was this big earlier, it has reduced to this one. Okay, the one which is marked with blue color over here. So that definitely indicates that installing a capacitor in parallel is going to improve the power factor. Just make use of static capacitors. Alright. Second one is make use of synchronous condensers. And the third one is the phase advancers. Okay. So the first conclusion that we can draw out very easily, that is the power factor angle. The power factor angle has been reduced. How can we say this? We can very well say that phi 2, which is represented by red, that is phi 2, is definitely less than phi 1. So when the power factor angle has reduced, so what has happened? The second thing that has happened is, in terms of magnitude, the resultant current, that is I, okay, has basically reduced. So as you can see over here, that earlier the current was IL, and if you measure its magnitude, it was quite large. Okay, so not only that the power factor angle has reduced, but now the total resultant current's magnitude has also reduced. So first thing that has reduced is the angle. The second thing that has reduced is the value or the magnitude of current. So as you can see from over here, that again the total resultant current, that is I, is definitely less as compared to the original load current, that is IL, and that to its magnitude. So magnitude we represent by a bar sign and an arrow on top. So from here we can see that the magnitude has basically reduced. Now if you resolve this current I into its horizontal component, as well as if you resolve the current IL into its horizontal component, what you realize is that you can very well realize that if you have the like horizontal component, so now you will get that both I, the current I, when it is resolved, as well as when IL have been resolved, both their horizontal components would be the same in magnitude. Both the horizontal components of I as well as IL are of the same magnitude. And what is the horizontal component? Horizontal component is basically known as the active component or the Wattfull component. So what you can see that the third conclusion is that the Wattfull component of current is the same. So what you can see from over here, that I cos of phi 2, okay, this red one is what? Related to current I. So from here we can see that I cos of phi 2 is equivalent to, now the green one, IL cos of phi 1. IL cos of phi 1. I hope you understand the concepts of mathematics. If it is not clear, then kindly comment. I can share another lecture on that as well if you are interested by chance. So from this we can conclude one more thing, that when if I cos phi 2 is equivalent to IL cos phi 1, so now if you can do one step, that is you can multiply V on both sides. So what you can get? You can get that VI cos phi 2 is equivalent to VIL cos phi 1. Okay, and what are these two components? What are these? This is nothing but the active power. I hope that is clear. So we can now realize that, or we can conclude that the active power remains the same. Active power remains the same. Okay, now the fourth one is the fourth point that is very important, and that is that although the active power remains the same, but when you talk about the vertical components, so definitely the vertical component of I is much smaller as compared to the vertical component of IL. See, if you resolve it, if you actually resolve it over here, okay, see if this is I, you resolve it into the vertical component. So this is somewhere, this is what? I sine phi 2. And this one is what? This entire one is I L sine phi 1, and the magnitude of this is so small. So you can say now the next step is that the reactive component of current remains remains reduced. Okay, it remains reduced or it goes down. So from here you can see very well that I sine phi 2, okay, that is very less as compared to IL sine phi 1. You can see it in this particular diagram. And one more thing that you can draw from this is that the net kVAR, okay, that is the net kVAR, okay, after correction equals to how much? It has come out new, equals to lagging kVAR. लाइट जला दो जी, बिफोर इधर एक्चुअली फ्लैश नहीं चल रहा हूँ, करेक्शन माइनस लीडिंग kVAR of equipment. Okay, but this point, the leading capacitive current partly or fully neutralizes the lagging component of the load current. Now coming to the three-phase load. For the three-phase load, I am going to take two cases. So this is the first case when there is the three-phase load, and this is another three-phase load. So depending on the conditions and the availability, or you can say the applications, first one is the delta connection. Okay, so three capacitors in the delta connection for the three-phase load. So So for the star phase, so this is the neutral point, okay, and we can take any ones. So here is one capacitor coming, from here another capacitor would come, and from here another capacitor would be connected. This is your neutral point. This is the first capacitor, this is the second capacitor, and this is the third capacitor. So this is basically the Y connection. And this, so there are basically certain advantages as well as the disadvantages of this particular of using a capacitor. First advantage is low loss. Second one is no rotating parts. So when there are no rotating parts, so that means that there is very less maintenance, okay. But what happens is that once it is destroyed, say for example once it damages, okay, how your capacitor can basically be damaged? It can damage under a condition when the applied voltage is greater than the rated voltage, okay. So when you do this, then in that case your capacitor gets damaged. Alright, so even though it has got very less maintenance because of no rotating parts, but still you have to be very cautious in terms of maintaining the proper voltages, that is if at all. And this poses another disadvantage, and that disadvantage is of a short lifespan. Lifespan is only 8 to 10 years. One more advantage of capacitors is that it is very much lightweight, okay. So since it is very lightweight, that is why we can say it is quite easy to install. Another like advantage is that it is able, or its ability to work under ordinary atmospheric conditions, okay. One more major disadvantage of the damage that occurs is that once the damage occurs for the capacitor, its repair is very uneconomical. It means that it will cost very high, so it is better to go and buy another capacitor rather than getting it repaired, okay. So first of all, its repair is also quite tough, and secondly, even if it is tough, even if it is done, then also it would be much better to go and buy a new set of capacitors rather than repairing the old one. Thing is the synchronous condensers, okay. So what basically are the synchronous condensers? Basically when you can have a particular synchronous motor which is over excited, okay. Any kind of motor has two windings, you very well know. One is the field winding, and second one is known as the armature winding. Armature winding is basically responsible for production of torque, and because of that torque your motor is basically rotating, or the motor rotates. But the field winding is responsible for maintaining or setting up of a magnetic field, okay. So to that field winding you have to provide a current, and that current is known as the magnetizing current, okay. So now if I have a particular synchronous motor, okay, if I have a synchronous motor and it is over excited, then that means a lot of current is being given to the field winding, and more. As you can see over here, there is basically one 3-phase load, and these are the three like supply wires, R, Y and B phases. So just with the three R, Y and B phases, I have connected a synchronous motor at no load, and whenever the synchronous motor is at no load, in that case it behaves like an over excited like motor, okay. So it behaves like over excited motor. In that case what happens is that this overexcited synchronous motor starts drawing a current that is known as the magnetizing current, now which earlier was lagging behind the applied voltage, but now this particular magnetizing current becomes 90 degrees leading to the applied voltage. Sometimes 90 degrees leading, or sometimes by leading by a particular angle. Okay, 90 degrees is basically an ideal case, but in the case of like actual, so by a particular angle, the current which is drawn by the synchronous motor, that leads the applied voltage by a particular angle. So now say for example, this is the applied voltage, that is V. Okay, and when the synchronous motor is not connected, a current which is flowing through this three-phase load, or like even if you consider it as one phase also, then also say this is the load current, that is IL. Okay, so now what happens is that as you connect a particular like a synchronous motor, so now the current which is flowing through the synchronous motor, which behaves as overexcited synchronous motor at no load, it is the property of synchronous motor. If you want, I can elaborate in some of the lectures, but that depends on the like demand of that particular topic. So you will have to, if you want, you can write it down in the comment section. So now say for example, this is the load current, that is IL. So now by a particular angle which is not exactly 90 degrees, but by a certain like you can say by a certain angle, you have the current which is flowing through your synchronous motor, which is leading the applied voltage by a particular angle, that is phi m. Now I want to find out the resultant of IM and IL. How will I basically find out? I will draw a line parallel to IL. I will draw a line parallel to IM. So somewhere over here, what you get is the new current, that is I. Okay, so very well you can see that the power factor angle has been reduced. Earlier your power factor angle was this big because your load current was lagging behind voltage by a particular angle. Okay, that was earlier phi L say, but now after you install one three-phase or the load, or even the one-phase load, if you install one synchronous motor at no load in parallel, so it behaves like an overexcited motor and it starts giving the current, drawing the current IM, and the resultant of IM and IL gives I, which is now much closer to the applied voltage V. So the power factor angle has definitely reduced. As condenser first, everything has got advantages as well as the disadvantages. The first thing is that very easily and steplessly, steplessly, because in the case of capacitor, what happened is that when you had to supply a particular amount of reactive current, or you wanted to reduce the reactive component of current, so for that you would have to calculate and you had to switch on a particular number of capacitors in parallel, or capacitor banks in parallel. Okay, you had to connect the switches. But in the case of a synchronous condenser, you can very easily and steplessly you can supply the leading current, okay, to improve the power factor. Okay, now secondly, since now a motor is involved in this case, since a motor is involved, so what happens when a motor is involved? So it will have more thermal stability. Thirdly, easy removal of faults. But there are certain disadvantages as well. What are the disadvantages? First, motor. When a motor is working, so definitely motor will have what? The losses. Secondly, again, high maintenance cost. Why? Why there is high maintenance cost? Because now in the case of motor, there are rotating parts. Thirdly, now since a motor will move or it will rotate, so definitely there will be the noise. Fourth, only advantageous above applications of 500 kVA. So if there is some load of like if this much of power is involved and more, only in those cases you can very easily use the synchronous conductor. If it is provide starting torque to the synchronous motor, okay, that is required because it is things which can improve the power factor. Those are known as the phase advancers. Okay, those are known as the phase advancers. What are basically the phase advancers? Phase advancers are used for induction motors. All right, so there are basically two fields. One is the magnetic field, as I always tell, and second one is the electric field. For the magnetic field, you have to supply the magnetizing current Im to the field windings. And this magnetizing current is something, since it goes to the field windings which are in the form of an inductor, that is why a magnetic field would be produced, right? When there is a spiral, there is an inductor somewhere. That is when what happens is that there is a say the field current, that is Im. Okay, so now you know that very well that there is, whenever there is the current flowing through the wire, it is going to produce a magnetic field around it. So that happens only when you've got a current flowing through your wire. So now instead of supplying this field current from this field current, from where does it come? This field current basically comes from supply current only. So when that current is also drawn from the supply, so definitely when you come to the phasor like section, so you will realize that now this is going to do what? It is going to reduce the power factor. So what is the solution? The solution, only and only solution, is that this thing, that is it comes from the supply current, this thing should be totally cancelled. So when it doesn't come from the supply current, then what is going to happen? There will be no magnetizing current. In that case, there will be no magnetic flux. That means there will be no magnetic field. If there is no magnetic field, your induction motor or any kind of motor cannot rotate. So in that case, what can be done? You can only and only do one thing, that is, rather than giving it from a supply current, why not you install a phase advancer. Okay, there is one equipment or known as a phase advancer. If you install it, if you supply this magnetic current or the field current from a phase advancer, so what happens is that the current which is coming from the supply, that extra current will not be drawn from the supply, and in that case you can very well maintain the power factor because inductive current will not be drawn from the supply. So in that case, definitely when there is a lack of inductive current for the field winding, so definitely the power factor angle will reduce, and when the power factor angle reduces, then definitely the power factor will improve.